Oklahoma football has been incredibly weird this year. They were expected to make the national title with Spencer Rattler winning the Heisman along the way, but instead he was booed and benched in favor of Caleb Williams. Then, after a superb 4-game stretch, Williams was benched for Rattler and they lost to Baylor. In the meantime, they also had been disrespected in the college football playoff rankings. The defense had once again not lived up to the hype, and there have been rumors of Lincoln Riley going to LSU. It's been a mess for Oklahoma football, but we recently heard from Spencer Rattler's quarterback coach about what the future could look like for Spencer. In today's video, I'm going to quickly talk about what's gone on this year, who Caleb Williams and Spencer Rattler are, all the events that have gone on, and in my personal opinion, what I think is going to happen next for Spencer Rattler. But right before we get into it, nearly 80% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel. Smash that like button for the algorithm, turn on post notifications, and let me know another topic I could do next. Now, let's get started and talk about Spencer Rattler.
In order to understand why there is a quarterback battle going on, we first need to see how the presumed starter lost it. Let's go back in time and meet Spencer Rattler. Rattler has been on the NFL and college football world scene for years now, as coming out of Pinnacle High School in Arizona, he was a 5-star recruit. He was the #1 quarterback in the class of 2019 and decided he would take his talents to Oklahoma. People had mixed reviews on him coming out of high school, and some thought he was kind of arrogant or very full of himself. Either way, it didn't matter, as he was now headed to Norman, Oklahoma, where Lincoln Riley was going to get his hands on him. In 2019, he was the backup to Jalen Hurts, and he completed 7 of 11 passes for 81 yards and a touchdown. The Sooners got to the college football playoff, but as we know, they lost. In 2020, it was now Rattler's time to start. He did struggle to start the year, but he finished on a very high note, and everyone was pegging him as the next big thing, the #1 overall pick in 2022, and the Heisman frontrunner for 2021. Last year, he completed 67% of his passes and threw for 3,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, and only 7 picks, while he also had 6 more touchdowns on the ground. Unfortunately, the Sooners lost 2 games to Iowa State and Kansas State, so they were eliminated from college football playoff discussion, but they went out and killed Florida in their bowl game. All the hype in the world was surrounding Rattler going into 2021, and while there were some rumors of Caleb Williams pushing him for the job, that pretty much sounded absurd. I mean, Rattler was supposed to be the #1 overall pick, the Heisman frontrunner, and the next great Oklahoma quarterback. How on earth could Williams push him for the job? Turns out, Williams is an extremely talented player as well. So who is he? Well, Caleb Williams was also a big deal. According to 24/7 Sports, he was a 5-star recruit, the #2 quarterback, and the 7th best player in the class of 2021. I guess 247 Sports is pretty low on him, as according to pretty much every other site, he was the #1 player and the #1 quarterback instead of the second guy. Williams came from the DC area and really started to blow up in 8th grade. Maryland was the school that was on him from the very beginning, and Williams would eventually blossom into a blue-chip quarterback. Oklahoma was always on his mind, but he was not on Oklahoma's. Lincoln Riley had originally already got his 2021 quarterback, as he had landed 5-star Brock Vandegrift. In case you didn't know, Vandegrift ended up flipping to Georgia, so now Williams became a top priority for Lincoln Riley. Williams would cut his list of schools down to Oklahoma, LSU, and Maryland, and all 3 had a chance. Maryland was the school that had been on him from the very beginning, and he could be the savior to that program because he was local. LSU was just coming off Joe Burrow, and they were in need of a big-time quarterback prospect as well. Oklahoma, on the other hand, had the best track record of any school, and there would be a window after Spencer Rattler. He ended up wasting no more time, as he committed to be an Oklahoma Sooner and had this to say, quote, "I honestly felt like it was the best place for me overall. I just want to try and learn and try to get to the next level." Oklahoma is a great place if you want to have a good college and NFL career, and that is why he went there. Williams was not only a 5-star, but he had some accomplishments to his name. He was invited to the All-American Bowl and was actually the 2020 Elite 11 MVP. Going into 2021, many expected him to play a reserve role, but with Rattler being eligible for the 2022 NFL Draft, it was likely going to be Williams' team in 2022. Except, 2021 has not gone the way anyone expected it to. For someone who was supposed to win the Heisman, Rattler has not looked that great. He struggled in their Week 1 game against Tulane, as he had 2 interceptions, and they almost lost the game to the Green Wave. In Week 2, he threw 5 touchdowns, but this came against Western Carolina, and this did not reassure the fan base at all. Questions began to be raised once again against Nebraska, as he only threw for 1 touchdown and 200 yards, as they barely defeated the Huskers. Things really started to heat up for him in the West Virginia game. After he threw a pick late in the first half, the student section began to boo and chant, "We want Caleb." Basically, they were saying they wanted Rattler benched, and it was time to see what Caleb Williams could do. At this point, Williams had had a couple touchdowns and had gotten in a couple of plays, and many thought he had more flash and more potential than Rattler. This was absolutely absurd because, as I said, Rattler was supposed to be the #1 overall pick and the Heisman frontrunner. How on earth do you bench him for a freshman? This would eventually happen, but not quite yet. Against Kansas State, he would somewhat redeem himself as he went 22 of 25 for 243 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he still had a pick, and they barely survived on the road against Kansas State. The offense was lacking those big plays, and he didn't seem to have that it factor we were all expecting. Things really started to fall apart for him this past weekend against Texas. The offense was not going, Texas was humiliating him, and he threw a pick and had a fumble, and Lincoln Riley determined it was time to make a change. Rattler ended up going 8 of 15 for 111 yards in the game, and had a pick and a fumble before he was pulled. This was not the first time this had happened though. Literally a year ago in the Red River rivalry, Riley benched Rattler in favor of Tanner Mordecai. But Mordecai was not Caleb Williams. Yes, Mordecai has become a superstar at SMU, but Williams was the kind of guy who could actually take over for Oklahoma. The Sooners were in desperate need of big plays if they wanted to keep their national title hopes alive, and that is exactly what Williams did. He went 10 of 14 for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns, and not only could he pass the ball, but he was also a running threat, which gave the Texas Longhorns defense fits. The most notable play of the second half was a 3rd and 19 play in which Williams scrambled and found Marvin Mims for what is probably going to be the catch of the year in college football. This gave all the momentum to Oklahoma, and it looked like they were going to win at that point. Williams may not have had the game-winning play, but his performance led to their win. This opened up the chance for the running game to shine, and Kennedy Brooks had the best game of his career in my eyes. In case you didn't know, with just under 15 seconds to go, Brooks took a run all the way to the house, and this would end the game and give Oklahoma the win. Honestly, the Oklahoma Sooners just looked a lot different in the game when Williams was there, and they were a lot more confident and more effective.
From there, things got pretty weird though. Caleb Williams was eventually named the starter after some student watched practice from some building, and Williams went on to put on a show. Against TCU, he threw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. Against Kansas, he had a Heisman moment when he grabbed the ball from his running back and took care of the game on 4th down. And then against Texas Tech, he had 400 yards and 6 more touchdowns. It looked like Williams was going to steal the show, potentially put himself in the Heisman conversation, and help lead Oklahoma to an undefeated playoff season. They ended up getting disrespected in the playoff rankings though, and they had a tough matchup on the road against Baylor. Things would end up falling apart for Williams as he would go 9 of 18 for 142 yards without a touchdown and 2 interceptions. Rattler came in the second half. Did Rattler do anything? No. He went 4 of 6 for 36 yards, but at the same time, Williams had just gotten benched. That means once again there is a quarterback battle going on, and now Spencer Rattler's vision for the future has got to be foggy. For a little while it looked like he was done and that he was either going to transfer or go to the NFL, but now he could win that job back, potentially save his season, and maybe even be the starter next year. We really have no idea what's going to go on, but Rattler's quarterback coach from high school had this to say. Quote, "Yeah, you know Spencer's doing everything he's supposed to do in Oklahoma. Just wait the season out, and if his number is called, he will be ready. But I mean, of course he's not going to be there after this year. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Whether or not we declare for the draft or find another school remains to be seen. We just want to keep getting feedback from where he may fall in the draft. And his #1 goal is to be a first-round pick one day, so he will do what's best in the end so he can achieve that goal. But he's doing okay. He really is. He has handled this very well. So maybe my statement about him being the starter next year won't end up happening, and it looks like he's either going to transfer or go to the NFL, and if I had to put money on it, I would say he would declare for the NFL draft, and some team is going to take a chance on him. In terms of transferring, the school everyone keeps talking about is Arizona State, but right now that program is in some hot water, and I don't know if Jaden Daniels is good enough to leave right now. Either way though, Rattler has a lot to figure out, and this quarterback room at Oklahoma has been extremely bizarre this year. What do you guys think though? What's going to happen to Spencer Rattler? Who's going to start at quarterback? And what is he going to do next year? Be sure to let me know down in the comments section, smash that like button if you want to support today's video, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.